morning, everyone. It's Robert from On My Turntable. Hope you had a great morning this morning. It is Saturday morning. As always, a coffee kind of morning. Cheers, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a beautiful day out there. A little cool, but anyone watch the fight? I'm exhausted because I stayed up and I wasted a night watching that fight. I think the women's fight was the best fight of the night. But I think the other one was fixed. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to share with you my original album classic box sets. I've got a ton of them here. I'm going to try and go through them quickly. But great value in a mini box set. Most times 3 to 5 albums. Most of what I have has 5 albums. I got a couple of 3. So I've got 11 in total, which is about 49 albums, which is a great deal. Lots to listen to, pretty reasonably priced. When I got most of them, they were around $25 Canadian. I just checked today on Amazon, and they're still around the same price, some up to $30. But still, awesome value. Where can you buy an album for $30 these days? Even though I truly prefer vinyl, these are pretty cool way to complete a discography, start into a new band. And that's what I've done with a lot of these bands. This is how I started off listening to a lot of these bands. So I'm going to quickly go through these, starting off with a Canadian artist, an amazing guitarist. I had a chance to see him in Toronto with Jeff Beck and the great Stevie Ray Vaughan. All 3 of them are gone now, unfortunately. But this is Jeff Healey and the Jeff Healey Band. Discovered by Stevie Ray Vaughan, ironically. A blind singer from Toronto. Unique style of lap playing. Also, he was he was in the original movie Roadhouse. One of the few guitarists that could equal Stevie's playing. Again, I saw him and Jeff Beck and Stevie Ray Vaughan in Toronto. An excellent concert. One I wish I could remember most of it, but born with cancer in his eyes. He developed his unique style of playing around 3 years old, and we lost him again in 2007 by cancer. So this has 3 albums in it. It's his first 3 basically. You've got See the Light, and that's him playing his guitar on his lap. But amazing, blistering fast blues player. See the Light, 1988 debut. And then you've got Hell to Pay. 1990 Hell to Pay, the second album. And then you've got Feel This. Oops, sorry. Where am I here? I'm backwards. You've got Feel This. This is his 3rd album. He was also a jazz influence player. He had a radio show, huge album collection of jazz, and just an all-around unique individual. So great value in this box set for sure. I've got 2 Jethro collection mini box sets. Again, one of my favorite bands. Most of this I have on vinyl as well, except for Jeff Healey. I don't have any Jeff Healey other than this little budding box set. But definitely with Jethro Tull, I've got a lot of these on vinyl or in other box sets. I've got a fair large collection of Jethro Tull, actually. So this is the little mini box set. Okay, it's 3 albums in this one. You've got the very bluesy This Was, the debut album by Jethro Tull, 1965 release. Only cost £1,200 to record that album, but it's the only album to feature Mick Abrams, who was a major influence in their blues sound at the time, but very bluesy. Completely different than what you know of Jethro Tull for sure. But he wanted to go in one direction. Ian Anderson wanted to go in another direction. Ian Anderson won, of course, so Mick Abrams is out. So they made Stand Up, 1969 release, the second album. First album to feature Martin Barre on guitar, who would go on to play on pretty much every album until 2011. And for some unknown reason, he's no longer in the band. An amazing guitarist in his own right. And then he got Benefit, the third album, 1970 release. Also the first one to feature John Evan on piano and organ. And the last to feature Glenn Cornick. It's a darker album than the previous two albums, but still a great album. So that's in that one. Then I've got a 5 CD set. Features, again, most of what I have on vinyl as well. But it's cool just to throw it in, and rather than dig out the vinyl, just to throw these on. But you got Songs from the Wood, the 10th album by Tull. Considered one of the first 3 folk albums released by the band at the end of the 70s. Folklore, countryside living, cool stuff. Then you got Heavy Horses, the 11th album, 1978. Okay, and then you got Stormwatch, the 12th album, 1979 release. It's kind of the last of the trio, the folk rock trio, but still 3 amazing albums. This one also features A, which was originally intended to be a Ian Anderson debut solo album, but the record company wanted a Jethro Tull album, Chrysalis Records. But Anderson states he still regrets that he made it a Jethro Tull album. He wished it was an Ian Anderson album. Still a decent album. And then you got Broadsword and the Beast, the 14th album, released in 1982. Kind of synthesizer, more electronic rock sound, heavier use of synths again with that, but still some folk and flute in there as well. But cool stuff. So 2 great, there's 8 albums by Jethro Tull in those 2 little packages. Not bad at all. Then you have the amazing guitarist Steve Hackett, originally guitarist from Genesis from 71 to 77. He was on 6 studio albums by Genesis, 3 live albums. A ton of albums by this amazing player. This is Voyage of the Alkalite, the debut album released in 1975. He was still with Genesis when he recorded this album, but a great album, great album. And I love all these covers too. This is Please Don't Touch, the second album by Steve, 1978 release. This was just as he left Genesis. He left in 77. You've got Richie Havens on here, Steve Walsh from Kansas, Phil Earhart on drums. A lot of cool players on this one. And then you've got Spectral Mornings, third album, 1979 release. This was with his new touring band. You've got John Hackett, Nick Magnus, Dick Cadbury, John Cheever, and Peter Hicks on here. Great album. Not too big on this cover, but this is Defector, not Deflector, Defector. Fourth album, 1980 release. It's his highest charting album, but I don't like the cover. Then you got Highly Strung, sixth album by Hackett. I think around 1984. This was, doesn't tell me. I know this box set came out in 2016, but it doesn't tell me when this one is. The front cover was painted by his former wife, Kim Poor. But great bunch of albums by Steve Hackett. Such an amazing player. I've got quite a bit of his stuff, again on vinyl. Then we have the Young Rascals, and then known as the Rascals. Excuse me for a second here. rock band formed in Garfield, New Jersey in 1965. Again, a 5-album set. Between 66 and 68, they reached the top 20. Nine big hits: Good Lovin', Groovin', People Gotta Be Free, How Can I Be Sure, Beautiful Morning. Great stuff. It's really good. They were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. You got Eddie Brigatti on vocals and percussion, Felix Cavalier on organs and vocals, Gene Cornish on guitar and vocals, and Dino Danelli on drums. This is the debut album, the Young Rascals, 1966 release, hit number 15 on the charts. Cool stuff. And then you've got this is Collections, third album. Collections is the second album by the Young Rascals. And then you've got Groovin', which is the third album, 1967 release. Another great album. Once Upon a Dream is the fourth album. Hit number 9 on the charts. Became the Rascals instead of the Young Rascals. There was some type of legal ramifications there. And then you got Freedom Suite, the fifth album, and also a double album at the time, 1969 release. Good stuff by the Rascals. If you don't know these guys, they're just a cool, rhythm and blues, great tracks. And quite the polar opposite on this next one. This is the Electric Prunes, psychedelic rock band from LA, 1965 release. Most of the band's music was kind of eerie, weird ambiance, psychedelia, elements of electronic rock, fuzz-toned guitars, real garage music. You got James Lowe on lead vocals, rhythm guitar, Ken Williams on lead guitar, James Weasel Spagnola on rhythm guitar and lead vocals, Mark Tulin on bass, and Preston Ritter on drums. Hello, Max. So this is another 5 CD set. This is the Electric Prunes, or I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night, 1967 debut. Listed as in the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. It is a really good album. And then you get kind of weird from there. Underground, the second album, kind of a moderate chart hit, but no singles on this one. But it became the 100 greatest albums you never heard of in 2011. They got a lot of distorted sounds, fuzz-tone instrumentals, experiments with Vox organs and stuff. And then we get into a weird period here. This is the Electric Prunes in Mass in F major, or minor, sorry. Mass in F minor, the third album. 1968. It's kind of a weird, because it's a musical setting in the Mass, church masses, sung in Latin and Greek, arranged in psychedelic style of the band, written by David Axelrod. Just weird stuff. And then this follows up with that. This is a release of An Oath, fourth album, composed and arranged by David Axelrod. The band really didn't take part in the recording, and it's based on a mixture of Christian and Jewish ritual worship. That's how weird this one got. But then they get back to the rock and roll, hence the name Just Good Old Rock and Roll. The fifth album by the Electric Prunes, released in '69. So it took them away from all that psychedelic and religious stuff, and then they went into more just straight ahead boogie rock, kind of like James Gang, Cactus, Foghat, that type of thing. But yeah, so I'm glad they turned the corner but it'd be also kind of the last album before they reformed later on. But still a great bunch of albums to listen to for sure. The great Fleetwood Mac. I've got 2 box sets of theirs, or mini box sets. This is a 3 album set, 3 original album classic. Of course, it was Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac at the time. British American rock band from London, originally formed by Peter Green, Mick Fleetwood, and Jeremy Spencer, also with the bassist John McVie on bass. I just said that, didn't I? Completely different than their commercial sound. Blues, heavy blues at the time. This is the debut album, Fleetwood Mac, 1968 release. Mixture of blues covers, originals. Peter Green, Jeremy Spencer on guitars. They kind of shared vocal duties as well. Christine McVie is not on this one. It's pretty much the only album that she wasn't on. But and then this is the most ugliest cover in the world. This is Mr. Wonderful, the second album by Fleetwood Mac, 1968 release. Again, another all blues album. But the horn section was introduced, and Christine Perfect, later known as Christine McVie because she married John, she was in the band Chicken Shack. She's featured on keyboards. It only took 4 days to record this album. And then you've got a compilation, The Pious Bird of Good Omen, 1969 release. Kind of a combination of all the some of the songs from all the albums that they put out. But it wasn't released in the U.S. Until they came out in this little box set. So that's those. And then the next one is the next 5 albums by the band. Some of my favorite period, I think, by the band. I really think they're some of their best stuff, maybe. Because they weren't that commercial. And they got really commercial. They got really commercial later on. They got Then Play On, the 3rd album by the band, released in 1969. Peter Green was the last album to feature on this one. Kind of folk rock, hard rock, art rock. And then you've got the beautiful cover of, this is Kiln House, 4th album by the band, 1970 release. This is the first album after Peter Green left, and the last to feature Jeremy Spencer. Christine McVie was on here, but she wasn't a full member of the band yet. And then you've got Future Games, 5th album by the band, 1971 release. Christine McVie is now a full member of the band, and Bob Welsh joined the band as well. He brought kind of an R&B, jazzy sound to the band. Really changed the sound, but I like how it sounded with him in it. And then you got Bare Trees, the 6th album, March 1972. Danny Kerwin left. He was also fired, I guess, at the time. But a great album. And then you got Mystery to Me. This has Hypnotized, one of the greatest songs by Fleetwood Mac. Mystery to Me is the 8th album, 1973 release. The last to feature Bob Weston. And all the songs were written by Bob Welsh and Christine McVie. Really good stuff. That's when they started to go into the direction of the more pop and commercial stuff. But a great time for Fleetwood Mac. And then I've got, go from that to a hard rock band, which is amazing. They're kind of classified as Christian rock, but they're not Christian. They have religious themes in their music, but they talk more about them trying to figure it all, the religious stuff going on. They're not a religious band whatsoever. This is King's X, American hard rock band from Springfield, Missouri, formed in 1979. And you've got bassist Doug Pennick, drummer Jerry Gaskill, and guitarist Ty Tabor. Their music was influenced by gospel and blues and British invasion rock, but they're a straight hard rock band, and it's really, really good. This is a nice little box set. This is out of a Silent Planet, the second album by the band. The first one was kind of I think it was an EP, if I'm not mistaken. 1988 release. Great hard rock album, for sure. I love the cover of this one. This is Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, the third album. It's a concept album based on short stories, and kind of questions religion. Great melodies, two tight grooves and stuff. It's really good. This is Faith, Open Love, the third album. You got Six Broken Soldiers is the first King X to feature Jerry Gaskill, the drummer, on lead vocals. 1990 release. And then you got that self-titled King X, the fourth album, released in 1992. And then a much heavier album. This is Dogma. It's a darker album as well. 1994. And one of their best albums, perhaps, as well. It's really good. King's X is a great band. Great band. This next one, I've got a ton of their stuff, both in vinyl and CD, and of course in this little box set. This is the original album series of Yes. Of course, we all know Yes. I'm not going to go into a big description of Yes, but you've got Going for the One, eighth album by Yes. Okay. You've got Tormato, the ninth album, 1978 release. The last to feature John Anderson and keyboardist Rick Wakeman. They left the group in 1980. Then you got Drama, the 10th album, the first to feature Trevor Horn on lead vocals, and Jeff Downes on keyboards. Their big commercial success, 90125, the 11th album, kind of put together after Chris Squire and Alan White and Trevor Rabin formed the band Cinema, and then they invited John Anderson to join up, and then they became Yes again. That was the new lineup of Yes. And then Big Generator, the 12th album, 1987 release. Really, really good album. So that's my Yes one. And then finally, this is Echo and the Bunnymen. I do have one of their albums on, I think I have Ocean Rain on vinyl as well. An English rock band formed in Liverpool in 1978. You got Ian McCulloch on vocals, Will Sargent on guitar, Les Pattison on bass, and Pete DeFreitas on drums. But a great lineup and a great band as well. This is the debut album Crocodiles, 1980 release. Hit number 17 on the charts. You got Pictures on My Wall, Rescue as singles on this one. And then you've got Heaven Up Here, second album, 1981 release. Had the first top 10 release, and really, really good album as well. And then you've got Porcupine, third album, 1983 release. Highest charting album as well for the band. Really good stuff. And then Ocean Rain's the fourth album, 1984 release. Hit number 87 on the U.S. charts and in Canada as well. But you got Killing Moon, Silver, and Seven Seas as singles on this one. And then finally the self-titled Echo and the Bunnymen, the fifth studio album by Echo and the Bunnymen. The last with drummer Peter DeFreitas. Unfortunately, he died in a motorcycle accident in 1989. And at the time, Ian McCulloch was drinking pretty heavy. The record was hard to make, but still they got through it, and a decent album for sure. So there you have it, guys. There's my original album series collection, and hope you enjoyed, and have yourself a great rest of the day. Love you all. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.